All right, guys, what's up? My name is Muhammad Ahmoud. Welcome to Sharpen Your Sword podcast, episode number 4. I want to start off by saying thank you guys for the support. We're getting unbelievable amount of support on this podcast. A lot of messages, a lot of shares, a lot of people coming out and talking to me and motivating me even more. So without you guys, we can't keep doing this. So I really appreciate it, and it only motivates us to keep pushing and keep making this better so we can give you guys more value. On episode 4 today, I have a very special guest that I've been trying to get on. Our schedules are crazy. His schedule is very crazy. I've known this guy for over 13 years. This guy's changed my life. He's helped me in all aspects of my life and made me a better man. And a lot of what I know comes from this guy, and it's my coach, my mentor, my good friend, Jonathan the Machine Boarder.
You had to do that, I knew.
Welcome to the podcast.
Welcome. Hey, thanks for having me.
Welcome, Coach. Of the tiger.
That's the perfect one, too. So, guys, I met this guy a little over 13 years ago. I've always liked fighting. You guys heard that on episode 1. And it wasn't necessarily in a controlled environment. And I found my way to Jonathan Boarder when he was training and teaching at Germantown Baptist Church. My brother had a friend that trained with him. He talked to my brother about it. My brother came home, talked to us and my dad about it. My dad said, we're going. And we walked in there, and like I said on episode 1, I was going to do jiu-jitsu. My brother was going to do judo. My other brother was going to do Muay Thai. My other brother was going to do karate. And we're all going to teach each other different things. And we got there thinking we're going to do that, and this short, 5'6", 5'7", gray-headed man walks up to us. What's up, guys? So respectful, so nice. And I'm a Muslim. I said that before. He's a Christian man. We're in the church, and super respectful, super helpful. And he said, I got the perfect program for you guys. I'm going to put you in Muay Thai. He didn't ask us what we were going to do. He told us we're going to do Muay Thai, and he threw us in the adults class. And that's all she wrote after that. We've been together, and we've grown a lot. He's coached me through MMA fights, jiu-jitsu competitions, and we own a business together right now, Boarder Martial Arts Academy. So, Boarder, if you remember anything from back in the day, what do you remember?
I remember some of that, not quite the same way you do, but of course that's a whirlwind from being back then. I remember your dad kind of waddling in there that first time, and it was very broken English, and I was trying to understand them, and he was like, I want to get my boys to do this, I want to do that, and I was like, that might have formulated part of the decisions that I made for you guys, because I'm like, I'm not sure what they need right now.
Yeah.
I got to get to know you first and kind of figure it out.
Right.
So that's kind of that, and the fact that once you guys got started, it was hard to determine which of your brothers and you were going to be good at this or that. So it was kind of like, well, let's segue into some judo. Let's segue into this and just see where it goes.
Right.
And, it cracks me up to this day that for the most part, most of them kind of fell by the wayside. They kind of stayed in it kind of on and off, but you were the only one that kind of was like, give me more, give me more.
Yeah.
That was kind of fun.
Yep. It's crazy. It's been a long journey. We're going to go more in depth of the history and everything that we've gone through since then. I was 13, 14 years old. I'm 28 now. We'll go in that. But I want to start off, a lot of people have been asking, and I've always been curious. You've always told me every time we have a long road trip or something, we always talk about it. And I'm glad to be under you and learn from you because you have so much experience, right? You're a 4th degree black belt in karate, 4th degree black belt in Brazilian jiu-jitsu under Andre Pederneiras. You're 3rd degree judo, 2nd degree black belt in judo, Muay Thai fighter, MMA fighter, very good Muay Thai. So I'm glad to learn from you and have somebody with all this experience, and I have direct access to you, right? So I'm a little spoiled. I'm glad I stuck through it and had somebody to show me in the ropes and lead me through these last 13, 14 years.
And I always love you and thank you for it. The thing about all that is that most people, I kind of, if you know me, you know the story about being just a single mom, 3 kids. She was working all the time. We lived in Germantown, which seems like it would have been a well-to-do kind of situation, but it wasn't. She had to work really hard to take care of us. Lots of doing stupid stuff. I got in a lot of trouble when I was young, mostly because she wasn't around. And it wasn't because she didn't want to be around. It's because she had to work several jobs and to keep up the house and do whatever. And so we just were teenagers running amok. We just did foolish things in Germantown, which leads to getting in trouble. Somewhere along the way, you know, Germantown High School, the 80s were really different, by the way. I don't know how the high school is now. I got to imagine some things are very different. Some things are pretty much the same. But you got a lot of bullying. It was a big deal back then. And there wasn't cameras everywhere. There wasn't, you know, the supervision that we have today. So a lot of times you got beat up on or picked on or something like that. I like to think that I don't have a small guy complex. If I'm wrong, you guys feel free to tell me.
You don't.
No.
But I just, at some point in time, I had to stop and say, you know what, I'm done. I don't want to be that guy that's constantly feeling like a victim, didn't want to stand up for myself, didn't want to do anything. And I had a job, a little part-time job, and I said, I will spend my own money and I will take martial arts somewhere. The good thing is that I had the fortune to roll into a guy named Jeff Mullen. Jeff, who is no longer here, he's in Las Vegas working with the Athletic Commission. But great friend. He was also a great mentor. He was a boxer, karate guy, some wrestling, whatever else. A little bit of like pre-MMA, if you want to call it that. And he was really smart in the sense that he knew where the trends were. So when new stuff was coming about, like early 90s, he jumped on the Aikido Steven Seagal bandwagon because that was a big deal. Not just purely for financial. It was, you know, I think he really wanted to learn something new and stay with the times. Then we segued into some judo. We had a guy who was in the same center that we were operating out of, who ran a floral shop of all things, who was a former national champion in judo, phenomenal player and great coach. Lee Persons, if you're out there, props to you. And, you know, just having all these influences early on really kind of made me realize this is an all-encompassing thing. You need to know a little bit of everything. And, you know, that's just how I got started. It just happened to the right people at the right time in history, I think. Then after that, you know, UFC happened, and I said, you know, maybe all this karate stuff's not the way to go. We all sort of jumped on, meaning all the gyms in the area, the jiu-jitsu bandwagon. Let's find guys that know what they're talking about. Let's try to invite them in. Let's try to, you know, just learn anything we could. We'd travel 2 or 3 hours any given direction just to train for a purple belt or even a high-level blue belt or even somebody who maybe claimed to be that. We're not even sure. Right. Because we had to get new techniques every day. Give me something new. And I always tell you guys this, I know you've heard this before, is that the legwork that we did on the back end historically made it so much easier today because now, you know, there's black belts everywhere. Jiu-jitsu's really prevalent. There's MMA gyms everywhere. It's really prevalent. But I do feel like I was fortunate enough to be on the cusp of that whole, I don't want to say pioneer because that gives me too much credit. I don't think I deserve
But you were.
But
Early 90s, right?
And yeah, but I mean, we're watching all this and we're realizing you got to change with the times. It's time to incorporate the Muay Thai, whatever else. So when I was about 25, my father, who lives in Nevada, there was a really popular Muay Thai gym, Master Tati's. And again, I've mentioned before, Gina Carano trained there when she was up and coming. He was out there not far from where I would be staying, and a really good Novia Now gym, which is the team we're affiliated with, was out there half an hour from where my dad lived. So I took a summer off, flew out there, stayed with my dad, trained consistently jiu-jitsu and Muay Thai over there, came back to Memphis about 5-6 weeks later, and I said, Jeff Mullen, give me a fight. I'm ready. I mean, I couldn't have been more prepped to finally see if all the stuff that I had spent all these years doing was worth doing and that I actually knew how to fight, or if I just thought I knew how to fight, you know, if I knew what I was doing. So that is the catalyst for how we got to teaching, you know. I mean, that's how we started all this. But at some point in time, you know, it turned into I was working for Mullen, teaching classes, doing whatever, and I was finally ready to do it and come out on my own. That's where Germantown came into play. Had a friend there that invited us through the church, through a ministry program to start teaching. turned it into what we wanted to turn it into, started training fighters, started training just people with a very similar concept to what we have at the gym now, which is, Joe Louis once said, Joe Louis being a famous karate kickboxer, we're not in the martial arts business. We're in the people business. And I steal that whenever I can because it's really what we're all about, just developing people. So that led into that, and taught at Germantown for 12, 13 years, and then took a little break for different reasons, and then we got this new inception now, and I really think that we have primarily you to thank for that, because had you not taken the helm and kind of said, hey, let's do this one more time, I probably would not have done it. Not because I don't want to be in this, but it's a lot of work, as you know.
So you're a very humble guy, and I'm glad to have a coach and a mentor that's humble, because I hate and I can't stand arrogant people, cocky people. And we see that a lot, right?
Yep.
But like you said, you don't want to be considered a pioneer of the sport or martial arts, but you are at the end of the day. People who don't know, and even sometimes I try to wrap my head around it, is you started when jiu-jitsu was starting here in the States, early 90s. So you were going to learn directly from these Brazilians. You've already had, the old style of karate in the 80s, where that's what the biggest thing was, karate. And then you transition as times were changing to jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, and MMA.
Well, I mean, the reality of it is that you started to see, and I don't like, this, I don't like bad-mouthing other martial arts, but what I will say is that you kind of realize certain things are more efficient than others,
right,
that make more sense. And I didn't want to give up karate at the time because that's my start. That's where I came from. But at some point, I had to shake it off, because I realized that most of what I was teaching, most of what I was doing was not as consistent from a fight perspective. And at some point, you kind of go, I want this to be more about functionality. What's realistic? What's going to work in the real world? And that's, hopefully what we've boiled it down to.
Right.
How long were you training karate at that point?
I started that in, again, 89, maybe late 88 with Mullen, and it was there till 94. And then when I started at GBC, I did it, that was 99, started at GBC, taught it all through that till about 2012. And then I'd say shortly after that is when I kind of said, nah, that's enough.
Okay. So, I was seeing the videos of the Gracies, back in the day, they'll challenge other schools. Did you see those videos? I'm what motivated you to do that jump?
So that's the thing. I remember sitting at a friend of mine's house, Rob Fisher. We were watching UFC in his bedroom, I guess, and I thought I knew something about something. I guess I was 24 then, and I'm watching UFC 1, and I'm watching this little bitty guy beat up everybody, and I said, I've wasted my life. As if 24 years of age was my whole life, and I just all this time training karate, and it's obviously not worth the darn, because this guy's just mowing through everybody. And that was the hard pill to swallow. That kind of made you go, well, you had two schools of thought right then and there. Martial arts studios, schools, whatever else, would either say, well, that's all fine and good, but our system's still better, or we still do this. Or you got guys that said, like we did, if you can't beat them, join them. And that's ultimately the better answer. I mean,
right,
if something works better and you don't recognize that, the problem is on you.
Yeah, and it's crazy to see it back then, because karate guys until today, with all due respect, still some of the old school ones, they diehard karate guys, right? They don't want to change.
Well,
and you seeing it back early in the day, putting it aside, like you said, hey, I need to make a change, says a lot about you, right? And that's something that we try to translate to people these days, is not having an ego, because that's what gets in the way a lot of times, is the ego. And so you transitioned to jiu-jitsu, and from what I know is you were the first jiu-jitsu black belt in Memphis.
To my knowledge, I've never heard anybody say to the contrary in this whole Mid-South region. Yes, I'm definitely the first.
You're the first one. So can you tell me, because a lot of people have been asking, if you guys don't know, guys, we own Border Martial Arts Academy in Carville, Tennessee. Like I said, Border is a 4th degree black belt, jiu-jitsu black belt under Andre Pederneiras. In my opinion, one of the best guys in the world, one of the best associations in the world, because it's not just a jiu-jitsu association, right? This guy has bred world champions in MMA, kickboxing, boxing, and jiu-jitsu. You know, and so that's our background, because me and you both, you know, you got me into it as Muay Thai, MMA. And this association, that's the way they went too. They didn't just go sport jiu-jitsu all the way. You know, they were the guys under Carlson Gracie in Brazil going to MMA fights, fighting in MMA, street fights, jiu-jitsu. And it's crazy to see that we have that mindset and we are under them, you know, instead of only sport jiu-jitsu, which is not bad, right? But the skill is tilting in sport jiu-jitsu and the guys that were doing MMA and Brazilian jiu-jitsu. So Andre Pederneiras, Nova União, the best association in the world. How did you get to that? How did we become under them? When did you meet them? How did you build that relationship and so on?
So a former instructor of ours, again, we traveled all the time trying to find good guys to train with. And we had an associate named Danny Dring, good guy, out in Little Rock, who was running fights, running, just his own studio, and was doing sort of this similar thing where he said, hey, I want to get on this too. And he ended up bringing in a guy named Tony Emanuel, who I believe had previously been with Alan Goez, which is ancient history. I don't know if you know who that is or not. But he was with Alan Goez. He's now, I believe, with Gracie Barra, but he was with Andre Pederneiras for some time. And Dring brought this guy in and started shopping him around, saying, hey, I've got this really good Brazilian. I got him here on, I guess, a work visa for I don't know how long. Let's make him some money. I'll bring him up to Memphis. You guys can come down here, train with him a whole bunch. And that's kind of where that started. And I think when the Vegas stuff happened, it was just coincidence. Because John Lewis, who is also a former UFC veteran, was a partner with Pederneiras. They did a lot of instructional videos or things like that back in the day. He's the one that had the school in Vegas, so it just happened to be Nova União as well. So we kind of almost indirectly kept that affiliation. Then, having completed the Vegas journey, he came back and still worked with Andre, still worked with Tony Emanuel, still worked with Mr. Dring, and what happened is he'd bring in new guys from the team, whatnot. And just kind of kept that relationship going. We never got officially, I guess, affiliated, but we always kind of claimed them because, that was primarily who we worked with. I'd work with anybody, but, those were the guys that I got most of my training from, and that's where I feel, my loyalties need to lie.
Right. I actually remember when we were at another gym training before we opened ours, you told me about a guy named Diego Sariva.
Yep.
And that's when my wheels started turning, if you remember. And I wanted to open a gym, and I wanted to do all this. And I used to watch Andre Pederneiras because Jose Aldo, and they were in the white room is what I call it, the white mats, and they trained. And I've always wanted to go see them. And then you told me about the history and stuff. I'm like, man, what a coincidence. Like, I liked watching them. I watch them every day. And then you tell me somehow we're affiliated with them, connected to them. So we brought him in and built that connection again, built that relationship again. And then when we opened a gym, we said we're going to call them and build it even stronger.
Well, it was kind of funny, too, because at some point in time, a different gym in the area had brought Diego Sariva in and invited us and said, well, I've looked on y'all's, social media webpage, whatever else, and, hey, you guys are Nova União affiliation. Do you guys know this guy? And I really didn't know him. Mm-hmm. But I said, hey, no, we'd love to come out. So we went out and, that started that relationship. And that was, there was probably a good 10-year break from that time meeting him before we had reconnected.
Wow.
Because I remembered him and I had a favorable opinion. He was a great instructor, good guy. And I was like, no, we should do this again. And fortunately, I don't know if he remembered me at all. When we called him and asked him to come out again. But
yeah, I remember.
But either way, it worked out. I'm glad he came back, and I'm glad we're still affiliated with him.
Right. So it's been a long journey. Now you started from training under blue belts, now 4th degree black belt, and you have black belts, and you have hundreds of students under you. With you being the first jiu-jitsu black belt in the Mid-South area, right? Looking back at it, what do you think of the whole the whole thing?
Well, you can't help but be overwhelmed by the explosion.
Right.
There's no way to... And again, there's a lot of good competitors in the area. There's a lot of good coaches in the area. But none of that existed 30 years ago.
Right.
And to watch it evolve and just kind of go, wow, this went from being a, almost unheard of, nobody's, no-name martial art to the most probably prevalent martial art on the planet now. I mean, if you don't, do it, you at least are aware of it, you understand it, and you respect it because it's just been so, prevalent in everybody's lives for the last 30 years. Everybody knows what jiu-jitsu is now, not like much like they did karate probably in the 60s. It's a little bit overwhelming, but it's also a little bit, normal now. You get to the point where it's like, oh, jiu-jitsu, Yeah. It's like taking a breath, it's part of life.
Right. Now, looking back at that journey, right, and then GBC, I meet you at GBC. Then we moved to another gym because you shut down GBC, and I was heartbroken. And then do you remember when I walked into that gym and I told you what I was going to do, and then I wrote you this big letter?
The letter's my favorite part.
Do you still have it?
I don't know.
I was telling somebody I want to ask you if you have it because I want to laminate it and I want to read it again.
If I find it, it's yours. But
I want you to keep it. I just want to make copies of it.
No, so what kind of struck me is that you hope you have a positive influence on everybody, but that kind of cracked me up because I was just like, I know exactly who this is sending me this letter. It's almost corny.
Well, I told people it's corny. I don't know what.
but I was like, I remember you even reintroduced yourself. It said specifically, hello, my name is Muhammad Imud. And I was like, I know who you are, bro. You don't have to, but it was funny. And obviously you could have just come back and trained no matter what, but you felt the need to reintroduce yourself and kind of reconnect like, hey.
Well, I was in school and I couldn't come back, remember?
I do remember.
And I was working in Horn Lake.
Yeah. You were all over the place because we ran into each other.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, a couple times. I remember that vividly. And it was funny because obviously you made a heck of a journey every day just to try. I think about it now. And it's like, man, you were really all over the city because you'd be like probably in South Memphis part of the day and then come up gym train. And then I know you were leaving right afterward. And then we started training you for stuff. And I was kind of like, how does he have time for any of this? But obviously you found a way.
Right.
Like you always do.
And I thank you because mental strength came from training under you and you pushing me. But what was your initial thought? Like, and be honest with me, like that letter. Because, I mean, you met me at Germantown Baptist and you told me, like I'm a Muslim in a Christian church, and I was a kid back then.
You were?
I was 13, 14, 15 years old. And then we take that 3-year break. Yeah. And then I pop up out of nowhere. I'm in Christian Brothers. I'm working on the street. I'm working in Horn Lake. And then I write you this like 2 or 3 page paper about how I'm trying to be a world champion, how we're going to have the biggest gym and have all these competitors and have all this.
Yeah, a lot of that seemed like youthful exuberism.
I remember vividly you keep telling me, hey, you're young. You're young.
Well, and I guess that's the thing. The thing that cracks me up about this relationship is that oftentimes when students train, I've had people surprise me beyond belief where you go, man, I don't know if this guy's going to amount to a whole lot. I know he's trying, and other guys, that do that, might become like champions of something. And you're like, I never saw that in you. You know what I mean? I'm going to treat you like that's something that's possible.
Right.
Because everybody's has got potential. Everybody can do something great. But when training, it was kind of like, So I thought, man, this is a really excitable kid here. We're going to conquer the world, And I was like, you know what? I like the attitude. And you tend to look at things a little bit more pragmatic. You just, be an adult. You just like, all right, I got a wife, I got kids, I got other things to go on. You can be all excited like this because you're in a different place in life than
right.
I am. So I didn't discount it, but I didn't really think it was going to evolve like it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to this day, I still kind of scratch my head and go,
how did we get here?
Yeah, from here to here, which has not even been that long. I mean, just from that time, what is it now, 4 years, 5 years?
So it was since 2014 I wrote that letter.
Yeah, so I mean.
It's almost 10 years.
Jeez.
We had the gym for almost 5, but that letter was in 2014.
Yeah, well, I guess that's more what I meant too, is the time from starting up what we got.
Yeah.
You know, it was kind of like, I don't know if this is going to happen.
I tell guys all the time, I didn't know it was going to happen. I knew, like, I had belief. And I remember when I wrote that letter, and then I was leaving to work, and I stopped at the gas station. You remember I had a minivan, long hair, pulled up, and y'all had a traffic stop or something. There was a bunch of you guys. And then I pulled up like a sketchy guy, and everybody came standoffish. And oh, guys, I know this guy. Yeah. Do you remember all that?
No, I vividly remember that. So, and I hadn't mentioned it on this. Most everybody obviously knows that I work in law enforcement too. I don't talk about it a lot because a lot of people don't know that. But yeah, so we were specifically stopping a traffic stop in Whitehaven, rough part of town, and for whatever reason, you just happened to be there with, I guess, an associate working.
Somali.
Yeah,
I met him at the church.
There you go.
And he's been with me ever since.
I know, I remember that. And you approached me not knowing any better, like, hey, my friend. And of course, I want to embrace you. Guess what? That's not really police etiquette, you know, but I'm human. I just do that. I'm a hugger. Right. So, of course, I'm like, hey, I could tell my partner's sideways look was kind of like,
who's this long-haired, bearded Arab guy and a black dude walking up to us?
and you know, obviously, you know, he didn't know, and so we made short work of that. And hey, it's my friend. Right. I'll let that go, but that was funny.
Yeah, I remember because you were like, I read the letter. That's one of the things that you said real quick. I read the letter. I meant to get back to you, and I was like, you're so full of it. That's my first thought. I was like, dude, I left my email. I put my phone number in there. I'm like, he had connection to reach out to me. Why he didn't reach out to me? I was so hurt too. I remember.
All right, so let's throw this out there because I know everybody's thinking it too. Whenever people text me, whenever people email me, whenever people call me, I get all of it.
Yeah.
And it's never personal. It's always something.
Yeah.
I'm always like, something's going on right then and there. And in my brain, I go, I'm going to get back to him. And I know I'm the worst about it. Yeah. I'm sorry about that. No, especially then.
Yeah. I mean, I know that now, right? But I remember I'm like, man, like, I was like, man, I would expect him to at least like put some effort into it to like entertain it a little bit. I'm like, dude, I wrote a 3-page paper. Like, I would expect it, okay, let's sit down, let's go for coffee, or let's meet and talk about it.
He shut me down.
You know, and I was like, oh, he don't believe me, right? And which also at the same time was like, okay, I'm going to show him. You know what I'm saying? Like, I get into this mode sometimes where like if somebody doubts me, it's like, if you doubt me, I'm going to show you how good I'm going to do it.
So, you know? And to that point, I remember specifically, you know, the interim between GBC to where we are now. We work somewhere else, and I was, you know, teaching, you know, as an employee. It was just something I was doing at the time. And I was content. In my brain, I was kind of like, you know, I've kind of made my bed. This is kind of
That's what you kept telling me.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is where my path's going. So I don't know if I want to do another gym. I don't know if I want to lay it on the line. And not wanting to commit, I remember almost having a heart attack that day. You drove up with a van and you'd already started buying like mats and pads, and you pulled up with that mess and you're like, come here and look at this. And I'm looking at it going, what is this kid doing? He's going to give me an aneurysm.
I remember that because that's when some problems were happening at that gym.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why we left. We're not going to talk about it today, but there was a bunch of drama. We weren't treated right. I was mad. And I went to Nashville, and I loaded up a trailer of gym equipment. And I was being a young man. I'm not going to lie to you. I was talking and I was trying to convince him because ever since I got back with him in training, I kept telling him the same thing on repeat. And you would keep telling me, Mo, you're young, you don't know what you're doing. You know, it's not as easy, right? And when I knew excuse my French, when shit was about to hit the fan, where I thought it was, and you still were like, I remember you like, Mo, you're making this up, right? And you're like, you're being young, you're being hot-headed. Nothing's gonna happen. And we were having a meeting with this owner. I left the night before to Nashville, bought up mats, pads. I bought everything to open a gym. And I remember pulling up. I texted you the night before, like, hey, meet me at the gym half an hour early. I'm going to show you something. And I remember opening the trailer, and you're like, what the are you doing? Like, are you crazy? And I can see your expression just changed. Like, it was just like, oh, snap, what is he doing now?
The thing that has been consistent now, obviously, looking at a young person, 13, 14, 15, you can have these big dreams. You can
Right.
you can have that, and then you sort of, as you mature, mellow out. Some of that goes away. That's not you. And what's funny to me is that I didn't know that at the time. Mm-hmm. So, as you constantly have proven me wrong, I guess there got to be. It's the total reverse now.
Yeah.
When you say something, and I know everybody who knows you and is listening to this is going to say, "Yeah, I might get a coffee truck. I might open a petting zoo." You know what? You probably will. If you really set your mind to it, you're probably going to do it. So when you say things now, I never, ever discount it.
Yeah.
I used to do it all the time at first because I'm like, I don't know. Here's the real world. This might be a problem. This might not be a problem. And you just kind of go, nah. We're going to make this work, and I don't care how we do it. So,
yeah.
That's crazy, Coach. And before you guys opened the gym, like, had he been bringing up the idea of you guys opening up gym?
All the time, and nonstop.
Yeah.
I remember we had meetings at Waffle Houses. Meet
Chick-fil-A.
me at Chick-fil-A. I got this plan. I want to show you this. I want to talk about that. And I was like, God, with this kid, give it a rest. I knew because, business experience and everything else, I knew he's capable. I just didn't know to what degree. People can do stuff and people can have success at whatever they gauge success to be. And in this case, it was kind of like one of those, he's shooting for the moon. And I'm like, I'm not sure that can be done. And then you're like, no, it can be done.
Yeah.
And
so at the time, you were like 23, 24?
I was 18.
18. Well, when you were going to open the gym.
So when I opened the gym, I was 23, I think.
23. So that's crazy to me. Like, what did you see in him that you trusted a 23-year-old to go open up a gym?
Well, things spiraled. Like, we're going to talk about it eventually, but at the gym that we were in, it spiraled crazy. And at that time, I was like kind of foreseeing it, right? In my opinion, I was foreseeing it. I guess I was right. I'm not going to say I told you so, but I'm sitting here, I told you so, right? I kind of foresaw it, and he thought I was like kind of building it up to what it's not. But in my opinion, it played out the way I thought it was going to happen. And at the end of it, we didn't have a choice. Almost. I wanted to do it at the very beginning. I believed I was getting treated wrong by the owners, right? And he told me I was putting too much thought into it. Then they tried to make me do things I didn't want to do by wearing their brand. And there's not in my opinion, was like, how am I going to wear your brand and I'm paying for my own stuff? If you want me to wear your brand, that's a sponsorship. So treat me like a sponsoree, right? And that's caused the problems. And then eventually one thing led to the next. And I started saying, okay, something's going to happen. And you're like, Mo, be quiet, shut up. Nothing's going to happen. You're going to make something happen, right?
Yeah. I think part of that is you have this go big or go home mindset. Mm-hmm. I am so much more the politician, and I always have been. Hey, how do we make this work, guys? How does everybody get along? Because usually that's a smart way to handle things. Mm-hmm. You want to resolve conflict. You want to make things work. Where you're like, conflict, bring it on. Let's see where this goes. And that's where we differ, and that's where I think we contrast each other and help each other a lot, because sometimes you need reeling in.
Oh yeah, the truth is a lot of times now you're like, and I appreciate you, right? I honestly do, because you still keep me on the straight line, because sometimes I am like, you know what? Oh, he wants to do that? Let's go all in, because the other side of me, and you remind me, and now I believe I'm doing a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
But you've reeled me in a lot of times back then, and still till today, you still reel me in like, hey, come back. Because my problem is, and I don't think it's a problem, is when I start seeing things like if somebody's trying to screw me, then there's no way to fix it for me, right? Because I felt like I was trying to fix it the first 2 or 3 years I was there. And I remember keep telling you things that were happening, and you were like, hey, just be chill, be diplomatic. That's what you always tell me. Like, hey, let's keep it. And I kept doing that until 4 years in over there. And then I was like, okay, this is not working. And they're still poking me, and they're still doing all this stuff. And then I was like, you know what? F this. Like, if this is what you want to do, then I'm going to show you something. And I remember you vividly going off on me at one point. This is not happening. You're crazy. This, blah, blah, blah. And it's just funny how that turns out, and now we're here sitting and talking about it.
You know, and I don't dislike being wrong.
Yeah.
In this regard.
Yeah.
You know, so that's it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
You know? And again, at the time, I was looking at it like all I'm trying to do is keep my toe in the pool of training.
Yeah.
I just don't ever want it to go away. I just don't know to what degree that's going to be.
Yeah.
And now we found a way to make it work for everybody, and that's the best thing because now we can make it what we want to.
Yeah. And I remember at one point we're in Chick-fil-A, and I think Ethan's dad owns that Chick-fil-A.
Yep.
We're sitting there, and you're like, Mo, I think I'm done. And I was devastated because you probably don't remember, but when I was a few-star white belt, I looked at you, and we're stretching. There was me, you, and a couple other guys. And I was like, Coach, you need to make me a promise, right? And I was like, you cannot stop coaching me until I get a black belt in judo and I get a black belt in jiu-jitsu. And you were like, I promise. And then I'm like, this dude just canceled his promise. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're like, I'm done. And I'm like, what do you mean you're done? And I tell guys all the time, honestly, until the very end, I was full of crap. Like, I was just talking crap. Like, I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't know when I went and bought the trailer of stuff to when it actually happened, how fast it was going to happen. You know, it just happened like problems happened. You were like, I'm not in this. I left, if you remember.
I do.
A lot of people left with me, and you stayed. You were trying to, and that's who you are, right? You're this guy that always tries to fix things. And I learned a lot from that. But I was like, dude, I'm done. And then all of a sudden, it's like, all right, let's get a gym. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. I have a store. I'm in school trying to finish this engineering degree. And now you tell me to open a gym and open it now. Because that's what I remember, like, what are you waiting on, Mo? It turned from, no, we're not doing it to, dude, what's taking so long? Because you didn't want it in Corryville.
Yeah, I know that. That was a battle.
Yeah, that was the thing I was trying to convince you to have it in Corryville, but you wanted it in Bartlett or Lakeland, Cordova area.
Something.
Yeah, Cordova, Bartlett area. And blink of an eye is like, all right, do it. And I'm like, oh, snap. I was just talking, Coach. Yeah.
No, well, I mean, and here's the deal. Obviously, you had done the legwork to kind of figure out what was going to make sense, what would the best options be. And I believe, I'm almost positive, that you had me come out and look at the current location. And that's what kind of sealed it for me. I'm almost positive because I was just like, okay, this is amazing. It would be foolish to pass it up. Because I remember you said at first, you were like, I got this great spot. And I was kind of like,
you shut it down. It was a year before all this happened.
Yeah, because you had to renegotiate the deal.
I had to renegotiate.
Yeah, I remember that because it was a problem. A lot of it was, still kind of selfish. I hate driving. But it worked out, and it's worth the drive every day now. So
I vividly remember at one point you were like, man, just get something like 2,000 square feet. That's what you kept telling me. I was like, no, I'm looking for the perfect spot. Like, I'm not going to just open something. You're like, get some 2,000 square foot. We'll throw some mats, and we'll grow. And then I remember we're like, hey, I want to show you something. Meet me at this address. And it's our current location. Yeah. And you walked in and you looked around and you're like, okay.
Well, and here's the reality. Again, you think big. Yeah. I think more, hey, baby steps. I looked at stuff like that and was like, man, this is going to be hard to make the rent, pay the utilities. We have no one. And we're expected, how much is this going to cost to get off the ground? When I looked at all that, because I've done this for a while, I was kind of like, I'm doing the math, and that's spooky. Yeah. It's spooky when it's hard to commit. When you get to that place in life, wife, kids, other priorities, you're like, nah, stability's nice. And that's part of where my, thought process goes to. It's like if you don't have a stable lifestyle and you can't provide for those that you have to, it's like risk is a really, really, really scary thing. So that's, again, where you come into play and you can change minds, move mountains.
Yeah, because I remember you asked me, like, how are you going to do this? And I was like, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. Yeah. I felt like we didn't have a choice. And I was like, one thing I knew about you is, like I said, you're going to be this humble guy, and thank God I was under you because I try to be the same guy as you. I try to follow your steps. But you don't talk about your accomplishments. And that's something you drilled in my head. Like, who cares about a gold medal or a belt? Who cares about that? That's not my job. My job is to help people. And you were very good at helping people, and I know that you changed my life, and especially now. because I wouldn't be able to live a life of competing, training people, doing all these things, doing all these events and travel without the gym, right? I get to do everything that I want in life with what you taught me, right? With the gym. So if this never happened, I wouldn't be as happy, in my opinion, right? So I don't say that I'm happy. A lot of people say they're happy, right? Because I feel like some people say it's fake. I am truly happy.
You're
and
the happiest guy now.
but like, I'm not a religious guy, but like in Arabic we say alhamdulillah, thank God, like thank God for everything, because that's who gives us all this, right? And so you gave me, you may not think so, you gave me all this. I get to do everything I want because of what you taught me, right? And I knew that if you touched me like that, because I've said this story before and I've posted about it, is when me and my brothers were training, we started judo. And judo's very fun. It's very exciting. I like it. It's very technical. But people hate it because you get headaches from getting slammed all the time. And one day I walked into the judo class when I was 13 years old, and you're like, where are your brothers at? And I'm like, they were being lazy. And you're like, you grabbed me by my shoulders like this. It was in the judo room. And you looked at me, and you probably don't remember none of this. And you're like, you're going to be something one day. I vividly remember myself as a kid, and I remember you standing in front of me and you telling me this. And I've never forgot it ever since that day. I can still picture your face. I can still feel how I felt back then. And I've never forgot it. And you may think it's crazy, but that's what kept me coming back to you, right? You made me believe in myself. And that's what a lot of people need, is belief, right? And so I went from that to now we're owning the best gym in the area, in my opinion. And now I'm doing it also to help people like you taught me, right? So me at a young age, like, man, this guy knows so much. He's just a book of jiu-jitsu. He's a book of Muay Thai. He's a book of martial arts. He's a book of life lessons, I'm like, people need this. And so how are we going to do this? Because the gym where we're at, they weren't doing it. In my opinion, I didn't think they saw the value in you. That was my opinion, and you're going to probably argue otherwise.
No.
But I'm like, this man is the number one guy, in my opinion, in the United States when it comes to this. Forget world champion jiu-jitsu, forget Muay Thai champion, MMA champion, UFC. I don't care about none of that because you taught me that. And I truly don't care about that. But you're the number one guy that I've came across. You being a Christian, I'll go again. You being a white guy, nothing about that. But I'm an Arab. I'm an olive skin. I'm a beard, long hair, dark hair, right? And we come to build this relationship. Why? Because of the guy that you are. And so, like, people need to see this guy. People need to learn from this guy, because if we can do that, we can grow something big. We can grow something that will change the world, right? Because I've always talked about my goal is to change the world, right? Is to change it for the best, to help people, right? And that came from you. Now that I've learned and thought about it, that's all you kept telling me is help people, help people. So what's a better way to do it than opening a gym where we give everybody access to it? It's up to them if they come. We're going to give everybody access to it. And I'm going to do everything in my will to get you out there and get everybody's attention on you, because I know what you have to offer them. And now, because of you, I get to do everything I want because of the skills that you taught me and the skills that you have. Now here we are. We went from Germantown Baptist Church, training in a 30 by 30, 40 by 40 room, probably not even 25 by 25 maybe, small room, to now you have this beautiful gym that has the best people that you can ever see, in my opinion. Like, we have the best people that you can hang out with and talk to. They're so good. And the crazy thing is, people are like, Mo, you're biased. We've had so many people come from other gyms, and they say it every time, is, man, I've never walked into a gym like this. Forget the aesthetics, the people in it. I've never seen this before.
And that's, you're saying it, but just a different way to say it. Just the culture.
The culture, yes.
We
community.
Have a very defined culture. And I know we talked about this a bunch before any of this was, before the inception. Hey, we need to be like this. We need to do that. We need to cut this off before it even becomes a problem. Mm-hmm. And, adhering to that is obviously made success, a reality. But I think we do a great job of keeping each other on the straight and narrow, because every so often we're like, I'm being this kind of retarded.
Yes.
It's my turn to be dumb. Yeah, so, we kind of reel each other in. But it wouldn't have happened if we didn't keep consistent with that.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is trying to make sure that everybody's kind of seeing the same vision and trying to make it happen.
Right.
Surrounding yourselves with people wanting to see the same thing.
Right. What's the biggest thing? Because I tell people all the time, like I keep referencing this, but we have an interesting relationship, and we've talked about this, and I vividly remember certain things you say I don't forget, right?
I've noticed.
And we were on the way home from a training camp, and I think it was in Little Rock, and we just talk to each other. When Border and I are in the car together, it's better that nobody's around us, because that's our time to goof off. In the gas station, in the restaurant, in the grocery store, we are like two 8-year-olds.
Beavis and Butthead.
Beavis and Butthead, the Three Stooges, right? The Two Stooges, right? It's so funny, right? And that's when, like, honestly, we have like the most heartfelt conversations too. Like, we say stuff to each other and we talk to each other. And I remember you telling me, like, man, I remember, and I didn't think of it, right? I was so innocent, right? And now I know this, right? And I know you're so nice. I remember you telling me, like, man, I was iffy about you.
Well,
because of your race and what happened in 2001.
Yep.
And you're Arab, and your dad doesn't speak English, and you come to a church. And so for the very long time, I've thought about it.
Yeah.
And somebody's calling you.
I ignored it.
It's all right. And for a long time, a lot of people can't overstep that, right? Because you didn't know me, right? I didn't know you, but I trusted you anyway.
Well, and so growing pains, just a 2001 happens, right? I am not the most at that time politically involved. I didn't, really know about world politics. I didn't know about this, didn't know about that. And all of a sudden you see that and you kind of go, okay, is this entire region, is this entire race, is this entire culture just out to get us? And if so, why? I don't know what I did. And so a lot of mistrust was obviously, born from that. And as a result, I kept my guard up. Everybody kept their guard up. I remember I know exactly where I was when 9/11 happened. Mm-hmm. I was in my gold Saturn. I had a little Saturn, a little four-door. And I was driving down Poplar Avenue right about Mendenhall, and I was hearing all this, thinking, this isn't real. This isn't real. I pulled over and was listening to a radio show, not even a news show, that was just in New York. I think I was sitting there like a play-by-play as they were getting updates. And I'm just mouth, drop jaw, just freaking out like, what's going on? And that shaped a lot of American opinions for probably the rest of their lives. Because,
today.
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't changed. The thing that meeting you has kind of done is it kind of chipped away at that stone a little bit, where I can get along with anybody. I mean, I've proven that time and time again. But I don't necessarily trust everybody.
Same here.
Yeah, I mean, you can be my friend, or I can.
We can associate.
Yeah, because I mean, I can look at you as a person, and that's the biggest thing, is you look at somebody as an individual. And so let's piggyback off your letter and all this other stuff. I'm seeing all this and I'm going, given what I know or think I know, somebody being this close to me or cool with me, that I would probably have questioned. I'm like, why? And they just, you've reminded me that, people are individuals. Mm-hmm. And we all stereotype everybody. To say that we don't is a lie.
Yeah.
Everybody's, there's white jokes, black jokes, Arab jokes.
Oh yeah.
Hispanic jokes. And
we say them to each other.
Well, exactly. And I think that's, a lot of people that'll listen to this are in that vein. I know they know this. It's like we say a lot of politically incorrect things because we're friends.
Yeah.
We've always been friends, and so we'll poke at these stereotypes. I've always been happy to be the cracker I am. And, it is what it is. But the people I want to spend the most of my time with are the people I love, and the people I love are the people that, you know, make me happy to be around them. Mm-hmm. You know, when you wanted to be part of whatever it is you thought I had, you know, that really hit me. Mm-hmm. And when you expressed loyalty in situations where I was like, maybe nobody else is standing next to me, but he is, you know, that sticks with you. And, you know, there's certain stereotypes they'll never go away in my mind, but none of that applies as it relates to you, you know, and, you know, people I've met as a result of you. You know, you've opened my eyes to a lot of things, and, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and you did the same thing for me because, like, you know, my history is working on the streets and selling shoes and stuff like that. But I don't like being political, but I'm gonna talk about it. But most of I'll call it racism and ignorance, because a lot of it is ignorance. I'm Palestinian, so it's not like Palestinians attacked the Twin Towers. So it's like, but people define the whole region as one.
Correct.
When you talk about Arabs, everybody is a terrorist, right? But most of the terrorist stuff that I got and the racism and the slurs and all that were from Caucasian people. African Americans, we usually cool anyway. I'm saying, like, I was cool with a lot of them, but every now and then you'll get them trying to be funny, call you Osama bin Laden and all that. But Caucasians, they'll give you a stare, you know, and that stare I still get until today, or I get slurs and stuff like that until today, you know. But because of that, and I was working in small towns, and I have a good friend named Joe, and he's just like you now. He talks to me. He's always calling me, checking on my family back home, checking on me, and saying funny jokes, not, you know, incorrect, not politically correct jokes to me. And he's out of a small, you know, country town. And so the small country towns is where I had the most trouble.
I'm sure.
You know, they would kick me out. It's not because I'm necessarily doing something wrong, because if there was a Caucasian guy doing the same thing I am, they'd let him be. But they would kick me out. And so I saw that a lot, and it made me hate people. I didn't want to engage in people and talk to people. And some of the stuff I told you at the other gym was related to that, if you remember, absolutely. You know? And for me, it was like, I'm not going to let you step on me, you know? And so I'm not going to let you step on me, and I'm not going to let you disrespect me no more. I'm grown up. I feel like I can handle it. I feel like I've learned some things how to handle it, and I'm not going to let anybody do that to me no more. Like, I've shut it up for a long time, and it's not like I want to fight you. It's just we can talk about it. You know what I'm saying? And so because of that, I started hating a lot of people, not talking to people, because it doesn't matter where I went, I got those slurs. I got the looks, you know? And until I met you and got close to you, it was like, okay, maybe not everybody's like that, you know? And now at our gym, you know, there's some problems happening in Palestine today. The amount of people that texted me and called me and talked to me is unbelievable, you know? And it comes back from you, because this comes down from the top, you know? This comes down from leadership and comes down to everybody else. And so you've helped me in that regard too, of looking at people differently. And, you know, I will talk to a lot of people. I know a lot of people. And just yesterday, I was out running errands. I saw like 3 or 4 people that I know, which is like, man, I get awkward. People think that's like, oh, Mo, you know everybody. Like, yeah, I know a lot of people, but I get awkward. I'm like, man, I just want to be out in public and just be normal. You know what I'm saying? And I know all these people, but I don't look at them like that no more. I would treat them for what they give me, right? You treat me good, I treat you good. I will associate with you, but because of my upbringing, because of things, I still keep a guard up. You know, I've talked about it in the last episode. I keep a guard up, and it's because I don't want you to hurt me. I don't want to cause problems. And also, I'm not going to let problems happen because I put my guard down, because that's when it happens, right? You let people come too close, they say something, you do something, then you push them away. So for me, is I keep it up until I get to know you really good, and then the wall starts coming down, you know? And so we all have associates, and I can look at those associates with a lot of respect until something happens, right? But I have the capability, because of you teaching me that, is being politically correct and treat everybody good, to engage with everybody now. It doesn't matter.
We're a long ways as a people, you know, to really fixing it. I mean, and it's always going to be an issue. You're always going to have these things happening, but it's a relief, you know, to kind of go, okay, I don't have to look this direction and think everybody's like that. Mm-hmm. Everybody's like this. And that's, you know, again, back to the gym, that's kind of how that comes to be. It's like everybody there is an individual. Everybody there wants to be part of something. Everybody's different, but we're all having the same goal. And that's kind of brings it all back home for me.
Yeah. How would you sum up, we kind of hit it earlier, but how would you sum up the whole thing? Let's talk about the old gym and now look at you now. Like today we just finished up evaluations.
A great evaluation.
You know, a huge group of people, you know, just thinking about it. Like try to immerse yourself in it and be like, what do you think about this whole because in January it's going to be 5 years at the gym. Yeah. Then those 5 years flew by.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
I don't know where they went.
Yep. I remember doing having Santa there the first late December meet and greets or whatever it was, grand openings, and it was just like, wow, you with your fleece embroidered jackets, and I was like, okay, this is legit. But just looking at today, my biggest regret is that I don't have more time to spend there. You're there nonstop. I'm not there. Not to the same degree. And I wish I was there more because the one thing I remember meeting somebody today that I didn't really know. And I was just like, hey, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're having a good time. And found out it was the mother of one of the students that I have trained with. And I was like, wow, how cool is this? I was like, well, please come to the 11 a.m. class. Come and see me if you got time. To see how far it's spread. But especially, it's to a point now where it's like, man, I'll see the posts. I'll be like, I don't know who that is. I got to know them. I got to get to meet them. It's weird. A lot of times people will compare training to like Christian discipleship. Okay, because again, the way we think it's Jesus taught us this, his disciples taught us this, and they spread it out through the world. Same idea, top down. And that's kind of what you see with something like this. You go, okay, well, the gym is a reflection of that, and you're trying to instill values and good things in people from the top down. And, what those values are, they vary from place to place. But I think we've been very consistent as far as making it a family-friendly, perfect environment. And the fact that we've gotten to this point now where it's like 5 years in, it's like, man, I know these guys because they've been here almost the whole time. I know these guys because they just got here, but they always come with a smile on their face. And I think, again, the culture has attracted exactly what we want, which is more of the same. And that's the best part. And it's almost like a force field because, we almost talk about sometimes about kind of weeding out the people that probably don't belong. And I don't mean that in a negative way. We love and accept anybody, but it's one of those, hey, if you're not part of this, if you're not part of what we're about and you're something very different,
right?
We recognize it, and you got kind of an ultimatum. You become the person you should be.
A good person.
Yeah, or you go somewhere else because there's plenty of other gyms that'll take you because you got a pulse.
Yeah.
We want you because you're the right kind of person.
Yeah.
You're the person we want to nurture you. We want you to develop because you're great, but you could hopefully we can help you be better.
Right.
And that's when you see that and you see just the camaraderie with what we got, how people work together in such a big group. I mean, that's a big deal, and so seeing that now, you saw it in, smaller, microcosms with other gyms or other inceptions of what we were doing, but to see it at this scale, you can hang your hat on that. So that's something to come home to.
Yeah. I remember because you know me, I'm a mind guy. I'm very intrigued with the mind.
You're like a Rubik's Cube.
I'm very intrigued with the mind. And over the years, I've realized how powerful this is. Your imagination, visualization, and your mindset can take you. And for me, I think most of it is visualization, imagination, and just trying to grow the strong mindset so I can make this happen. And one of the biggest things that I noticed, one of the biggest things I remember, because I remember when I was in a store in Horn Lake, this store was miserable. I was negative the whole time I was there. This is the time where we ate 6 pizza rolls a day because we didn't have money to buy lunch, right? I remember writing the plan for the gym. And this was before I eventually started training with you at the gym, the old gym. I have the plans until today. I laminated them and everything. And it was on the back of a flyer for that store, you know. But I had nothing going for me. Everything was bad, right? But I still decided to try to visualize.
English, Mo.
Yeah, it's my second language. Visualize the dream. And I kept visualizing it every day when I went to work. Every day. And I kept saying it to you every day. But one of the things, and I don't know because I've been at this gym so long, one of the things, and I told Gio this because he asked me, is I tell him to use his imagination and try to see it and close your eyes and see it, you know. And for me, it was when I closed my eyes and I saw it, I saw a mat, and crazy enough, it's a mat that we have. It's the building that we have. And we're lined up in the front, and then all of our students are lined up in front of us, just like we were today. And that's what I imagined every single time when I thought about a gym, you know? And that was 10 years ago. And today, and sometimes I was like, it hits you in your heart because you work so much and you just like, whatever. And then you sit down and think about it and you're like, I have so much more. We've come so far, right? And today we're standing there giving stripes and giving belts, and we're in the front, and then our students were in front of us. And I'm like, man, that's what I visualized for so long, and I'm standing in the dream that I used to dream about, you know? And so the power of the mind and your imagination can take us so far, right? And I think that's what helped me, you know? And crazy thing, jiu-jitsu is what gave me that. You know, 'cause I didn't want to do jiu-jitsu. You made me do jiu-jitsu. And jiu-jitsu makes you use your mind. So I think it made me more creative. It made me more be able to work under pressure and stuff like that, which expanded my mind to get me to where I am, you know? So I already have the picture in my head for the next gym. And you're like, next gym, right? We've talked about this. But I already see how the next gym is. I can see everything about it right now. I can see walking through the doors. I can see greeting. You know, Gio has changed a lot for me, guys. I was the one that did all the work. Now he's the one doing it. So
we love you, Gio.
We love you a lot. But what Borders taught me, I'm trying to teach to Gio, and he's the one that's taking the ropes, you know, and I can't do it without him. And so now when I picture the new gym, I see Gio, right? I walk in, I see Gio. You know, we speak to each other in Spanish in the mornings. I'm trying to learn Spanish. And I see people, a lot of commotion, people walking in and out, people, you know, at the cafe, people going to jiu-jitsu classes. I'm cracking jokes with you. I see us pulling up to the gym. I see all of that, you know, and it's a goal that I have here in a few years. It's a very big goal, but I see it. Where do you see us? And because this is, I'm not going to say the number because this is business tactics. I'm not going to give you my tactics. But I already have the number. I already have the date, the date of when this is going to happen.
When you were going to tell me is when?
I mean, we still got years.
I know.
But let's say within the next, what's your 5 or 10 year goal? Or what do you see where we will be in the next 5 or 10 years?
Well,
from what you've seen already.
I mean, obviously, I hope for growth. I hope for expansion. I hope for the necessity for a bigger facility, more mat space, more this, that, and the other. But a lot of the things that we've talked about, because you think that, because sometimes you think big and I try to think more practical, that I don't think big. There are times all the time I'm like, hey, we need to do this, we need to do that. There's all kinds of stuff on the horizon that you and I have talked about, but we've never really acted upon. I think we should be hosting events, bigger events, things that I know that we've discussed that we just have kept on the back burner. I'd like to get in a place where the other job, I get a little bit more stability and I can do a little bit more, where we can start sitting down together and saying, hey, let's do this, let's do that. But there's all kinds of events that we could actually host, that we should host, because, you know, you've got the mindset for it. You know, I've put on enough events and I've done enough things where I'm like, hey, I know the red tape we got to kind of go through. That's kind of where I think the next phase needs to go. But, you know, there's a lot of things that got to change too. I mean, we got to grow other aspects of the gym first. You know, I'd like to see more fighter types. You know, not that we're a fight gym, not that that's what we're about, but you want to have a base to springboard some of these ideas. I'd like to expand on a more a bigger judo program at some point. You know, there's a lot of programs and things that we can grow, but we need more space, more time, more instructors. The best part about like today, for example, is having all the people that help with the kids' classes and everything else that are, you know, leaders in training, as it were, and knowing that for the most part, they'll probably be there in 10 years. So that when we get to that point, it's going to be easy to delegate and say, hey, now we've all been a team for the last 15 years. Now we've gotten to this point where you guys know how we operate. You know what we're going to do. We know what we're about. Can I get you to do this? Can I get you to do that? Because I remember putting on events back in the day, and the hardest thing for me to do, and I know this because it's the hardest thing for you to do, is delegate. You want to do everything yourself. Yep. You want to do everything yourself. You always have. I used to be the same way, and still am to some degree. So once we are to a point where it's like, hey, now we can, hey, please go handle this. Please go handle that, so that we can, and we know it's in good hands. We know it's getting done, so that we can move on to something else. That's because I don't like laying out specifics, just like I'm sure you don't. But I see that we can do a lot bigger things with what we got. We just need a little bit more time and space to make it a reality.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And like you said, delegating is the hardest thing to do for a lot of things. I don't like asking for help. I don't like taking people's time. But that's one of the biggest things is having the manpower to do things, right? In business, you need the manpower. If you want something, sometimes you need the manpower. And now, you know, when we started, it was me and you. Mm-hmm. You know, there was other people involved that fell off pretty quick, you know. Won't forget that help. Doesn't matter which path we take. They've helped a little bit, but they're gone now, right? Mm-hmm. But it always can't, and you've told me this. You've told me this just a couple years ago. I went through something, and you looked at me in the back room, and you're like, man, you know what I noticed about us, Mo? And it kind of struck me, right? But it's like, it always comes back to just me and you. Mm-hmm. Everything always falls back. And it's not a bad thing. Now, we're not saying this in a bad thing, but you're like, doesn't matter who's around us. At the end, it's always me and you.
Change is constant.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
People come and go. But one thing that stayed the same, and this is something that's going to, till the day I die, and hopefully for you the same, is we're going to stay together. I'm going to support you. Doesn't matter what it is. I've said this when I was young. It doesn't matter what it is, I'm there. You don't have to explain it. Just let me know I'm on the way, you know? And 2 years ago, you told me that. You know, you're like, you need help? I'm like, no, I'm good. And then you were like, crazy, it's always me and you. It's always coming back on us, and we're always pushing through. And I'm like, yeah, and it's always going to be that way. Yeah. Now we are, like I said, thank you to Gio. Now I'm having more confidence because Gio's learning this. So as long as Gio stays with us and people like him, you know, slowly growing.
You can't leave now, Gio.
Now it's giving us more opportunities to do more things, you know, because instead of me trying to do everything, which I can't do everything, I'm learning that, right?
Hard pill for you to swallow.
You know, I don't want to swallow that pill, and I don't even want to say it. I feel like I'm going to edit that part out. But I believe you tell me I can't walk on water, I'm going to try to walk on water.
Yes, you will.
I've tried it already. You tell me I can't fly, I'm going to try to fly.
Well, so then that goes back to the whole, you can do anything you want to in life, you know? What the part that nobody ever talks about is the next obvious part, which is you can do whatever you want if you get the right people.
Yes.
Because you are limited in what you can do. We all have gifts. We all can do certain things.
Yes.
And there are certain things we know we're not good at.
Right.
Nobody likes to admit that, but somebody who's in your circle can fill that gap.
Right.
Maybe they don't even realize it yet.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of where I think we grow because, again, you're always shooting the moon. I'm a little bit more conservative with my thoughts, and we kind of play off each other, where I think we both take a little bit more, walk each other's paths now.
Right.
And we go, okay, well, I don't mind taking this risk now, or I don't mind reeling it in a little bit. And, you know, we got the people that can fill those gaps at this point in our history, and that's just going to keep growing.
Right.
You know, I mean, I look at the kids program. I used to feel horrible that I couldn't be there more. And to this day, it kills me. It's like, I'd love to know these kids better. I've done that, you know, half my life with you, with a lot of the students that are adults now. I remember the joy that brought me, and I know it brings you. And I go, you know what, now, you know, they've got a team for that. They don't, I mean, I'm sure I'd always be welcome, but you don't need me in that regard.
Right.
There'll be another role somewhere else that I can pick up that might make more sense.
Right.
And if you ever need me for that, yeah, I'll pick up a shift.
I appreciate you. And that was still till today, the hardest pill for me to swallow is, like you said, and you said it perfectly, is that's when people come in to help and back us up, you know? And we're getting to the point where we're at because of the people we have around us. You know, something simple like parties, you already know how I am at parties.
You're a mess.
I don't talk to nobody. You ask me and I keep walking, I'm fine. I'm good. I got it, right? I keep doing that nonstop for the last 5 years. And it's something small. It's very small, right? But I have to order pizza for today's party. I had to, right? Usually I order the pizza, I negotiate the pizza costs, make sure they will have it ready. Make sure all of this is going to be ready, right? And I will call the day of, like today, and I'll confirm it again. And this morning I thought about it to tell Gio. Last night I completely forgot. And as we're coming to the podcast, he's on the phone with somebody, and he's like, "Hey, I just wanted to call and confirm." And I'm like, "Bro, you literally just took it out of my head. I didn't know he was calling them, you know?" And that's something small for some people, but for me, that's huge, right? Because what if something happened with the pizza? Now I can't have pizza for the kids tonight or food for the kids tonight, you know? So that's when he came in. Now he's doing stuff that I don't like. I'm like, "Bro, hold up. That's my job." But it's not my job. You know, I tell him all the time now, he asks me questions. I'm like, "Gio, you're the manager. You take the call. You make the call on that." You know? And so now I'm trying to let it go to some things. In the kids program, same thing. Like, I have great coaches. That's why it's so good. We have great coaches in all of our program. Coach Jason, Coach Donovan, and then all the kids coaches. That's why we're getting so good. So now the opportunities for me to bounce on new things again and try to build the new gym on Mars is going to happen because we have the people now. We're growing that.
So one of my favorite quotes, I'm going to mess it up. It's not going to be a quote. It's going to paraphrase. But one of my favorite presidents, the great Ronald Reagan, once said something to the effect of, "It's, you know, you can achieve anything in life if you don't care who gets the credit."
Yes.
You know, and that's, you know, it's what we're a support system.
Yep.
You know, and that it's one of those, you know, hey, they're going to put it all on the top guy. You know, people will say, "Oh, Border, I saw the post and your gym looks great." I'm like, what do we do? You know, something new happened that I didn't know about, and I realized it's something that you guys did I wasn't even aware of. You know, but for some reason I unfairly get a lot of that credit, and I'm like, no, it's not me. It takes a village.
And that's one thing that I remember you kept saying to me. It takes a village. It takes a village. It takes a village. And we're from a village in Palestine, so we say the same thing. You know. And we were at where we're at because our village is strong. Our people are strong. And we have good people. And like you said, you know, no matter who takes the credit, but it comes from you. You know, so I'm very happy. I'm very blessed to meet a good person like you and to go on a journey with you. But Gio, I got a question for Giovanni.
Yes, sir.
So Giovanni, what do you think of all of this? Because you've been with us a few years, you've seen the gym grow, and you out of all people I talk to the most. I tell you everything about dreams. I tell you about my mindset, how the mind works, what I think how the mind works. I told you about Border, told you about the past history. What do you think of everything that we've talked about so far?
I think it's very crazy. Like, everything from being a kid walking in there, a beardless Mo, to going through the different gyms and then being here. And I started there, like I've said before, I started because I like Conor McGregor and I wanted to be cool. You know, that's why I walked in there for. And but I never imagined I was gonna be working there. And then when I started working there, you know, and I was submerged by everybody, and I got to see Coach Porter run his classes. I got to see Coach Jason, Coach Donovan, see how everything works, and then see the work that goes behind it. And from the outside in, when I was just a member, like, it's you look at it and it's very easy because you're just there 1 hour or 2 hours, and then you're out back to your regular life. And it's like people say, you know, it's so much work that goes behind that. Like Coach Porter, he's so friendly and he's very welcoming. You know, especially like you walk in and you're super nervous, like, damn, I'm about to get whooped. And then he walks in and introduces himself, and he's so nice. The environment is so calm and so chill. is not threatening. And moments that I've had to open the gym and close because Mo wasn't there, you really get to appreciate how unique the culture is and how much work it takes to preserve the culture, because it takes so much work to get it there, and then it could just spiral immediately. So I think it's amazing, all the work that goes behind in the academy to be able to build all the relationships, to be able to get along with everybody. I think that's something that's very underrated, and that thing could go sour very fast. And I just think it's amazing. I always tell, like, as I learn more about business and, like, I read books about these millionaires and entrepreneurs, right? And they say these things. And I was like, wait, Mo already told me about that. And I like, hey, I'll bring quotes to him. I'm like, did I read this and this? He was like, yeah, I told you that, remember? I'm like, you did tell me that. I'm like, I think that's crazy. I think the academy is a beautiful place, and it's far beyond more than martial arts. It's every evaluation. Coach Porter reminds us that this isn't for the medals. This isn't for the belts. This isn't for the accolades and the glamour, because that's the night. That's temporary. And then you throw the belt up, and then it collects dust. What lasts at the end of the day is that it's not necessarily building a UFC champion, MMA champion. It's about building people that are champions in life. People who are confident, people who can stand up for themselves. Kids that at once were being bullied and now they're not being bullied. Or I think one of our members said it best. She said that jiu-jitsu taught her how to say no. And I think that's so powerful, jiu-jitsu taught me how to strangle somebody in 15 seconds. It's the impact that it has in its life, So it's kind of like a church, in the sense that it changes people. And I think that's the most amazing thing. What jiu-jitsu, not what it is for all the submissions, but what it could do for you in your life, and change you.
Well, like you said, sometimes the awards, the accolades, all that stuff, that could be the little kid that just, stood up for himself that day because of something you guys showed, in that class before that. And he's like, no, I'm empowered now, and I'm not going to let you push me or do this or do that. That's bigger than a world title, to that person. Mm-hmm. Our victories are individual. They're unique to us, and that's constantly changing throughout your life. So, it shouldn't, the other stuff's nice. It's nice to win. It's nice to be part of something. Oh, yeah. But we've got people, and that's the one thing that we talk about all the time. You don't have to be a competitor. Obviously we encourage that because we want you to rise to challenges, because when you do that, you find out more about yourself, and that you can be graceful under pressure because you took that step. But it's not for everybody. Not everybody wants that, and their personal goal might be just to get through their day. Maybe their day was so bad or so stressful that just this workout's what kept them going.
Right.
And we all say it all the time. It's like, I'm so much happier after I got my workout in. But with what we do, it's not just a workout, because everybody's hanging around afterward. Hey, what you doing? Hey, you going to meet up this weekend? Again, we all, I've seen it through everybody here, hang out with each other, but we all have friends that we have from the gym associations that we spend our time with outside of the gym. And that's back to the support system, back to all that. But just the little victories that you can have in life from just, training in general. And sometimes, most of the time, we'll never even know what those were.
Mm-hmm. What do you think? That's very powerful. That was very powerful.
Well, thank you.
First of all, it's crazy because what Gio just said is like, everybody says that I'm not crying, you're crying. But that's exactly how I felt when Gio was talking, because what he just said at the end about the accolades and stuff, you drilled that into my head early on. And now I'm listening to him say it to us, and we're going to listen to the 8-year-old say it to us or say it to somebody, So it's crazy how, because now I feel like I'm the old man sitting on a chair.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, I'm looking at him saying this right now. I'm like, my gray beard just came in.
Hey, good vibes, man. Garbage in, garbage out. Good things in, good things out.
Man, that's crazy. we've come a long way. We got a long way to go. I like to talk about some of the things that we've accomplished competing and stuff. What were your thoughts like? Did you have any doubts of us coming to where we're at? Because if you remember, like I was actively fighting MMA and jiu-jitsu. Mm-hmm. So what was your thoughts of me trying to fight MMA and jiu-jitsu and then now trying to be in business?
Well, I think that's a big part of getting to where we are because it's like a proving ground. Mm-hmm. I felt like that's kind of what I did when I was coming up competing, and it's kind of what you're doing now. You have to kind of come into your own. You got to make sure that you know what you're talking about. You have to make sure that you are, the person you want to be as far as a teacher, instructor, a leader. And part of that is going through those trials as they were, fighting, competing, putting yourself under pressure. And, then it relates a lot better to your students because now you know what they're going through, especially with training. I don't know if I can. I don't know if this. I don't know if I can do that. That's how you get there. It's baby steps. Watching everybody develop, the biggest thing, and you know this, with your fighting in particular, I know you were like, oh, I'll never do it if you're not there. And yeah, I try with everything I can to never miss you. Because at the time you were the only fighter. You were the only guy that was really stepping up and wanted to be something great. And I wish I could do more than I do just so I could help you guys as a team develop, because I, watch that from you and I go, man, I'll see the post about other guys and this and the other. I like helping in the small ways that I do, but I wish I was more involved in all of these things. It's hard to, not always be there at all. But watching you kind of develop and get through this part of it, it's going to make it so much easier for you on the back end when you say, oh, this kid's up and coming and he might be something. Mm-hmm. And I know exactly what he's going to need because I know that personality type. We've trained guys like that. I was like that. I think that's going to really springboard how you, coach guys in the future because right. You know what I know. Not everybody is going to receive the same kind of response from your training. They're going to be like, oh, I don't train this way or I don't train that way or I respond better to this kind of instruction or that kind of instruction. You're just going through that natural progression to get you to where you're going to be next. Your constant metamorphosis, constant.
Piggybacking off of that, so a lot of people get caught up in trying to show off and win fights and win jiu-jitsu, or people think they need to do that, be obligated to prove a point. Okay, and this isn't jiu-jitsu. This is everywhere in life. People are trying to prove a point. What is your biggest tip in regards to somebody wanting to start jiu-jitsu? Like, how would you talk to somebody like, hey, don't try to prove a point, just, learn.
Keep your goals realistic. I mean, the hardest part is getting somebody in the door, because they're apprehensive. It's a new world for a lot of them. And so you got to, do, again, support system. Gio welcomes them. I'll welcome them. You'll welcome them. And that's, you got to, break the ice. Get them comfortable, get them outside the comfort zone. Then you explain that to them. Hey, we're going to be wrestling around, or we might kick and punch each other. We might do this, that, and the other. And don't give them any illusions about what you're doing. You don't want to surprise them, so to speak. And then once that's taken care of, it's like then you let them kind of pick their own path because, again, everybody's an individual. I get surprised by people every day. People come to the gym and I'm like, oh, okay, cool, another new student. They end up being like Ben, who's like a top-notch competitor now. I didn't meet him thinking, oh, that's what that guy's going to be. He developed into that. He's a very motivated individual, and he just expanded on that. But he may have not even known that himself coming into it. Get him in the door. Get him comfortable with the idea of being uncomfortable. See how they express themselves. See how they go with it. They want to be that casual, 2 days a week, student that's doing this to better their lives, get better, get in shape. That's great. If they want to be somebody who goes, no, let's go to Worlds. Let's do this. Let's do that. But sometimes they don't even know themselves when they start. They don't know. And they have to have that ability to have the right kind of people around them to express that and kind of go, hey, this is the path I want to take. You've shown me that. You've shown me that, hey, I can rise to bigger things than I ever thought I could. And that's kind of fun too, just to see that. So, the advice I would say is simply that: just keep it realistic. You can take it wherever you want, but you got to get your foot in the door, start. Once you've started, then we'll see where it's going to go.
Right. It's good tips.
That's crazy, Coach. I remember I heard a quote by Hansel Gracie. He said that he learned more on the jiu-jitsu mats than he learned at university. Do you believe that's true? Do you believe that jiu-jitsu has taught you some of the most important lessons or martial arts in general?
Well, I mean, the obvious stuff, the persistence, the dedication, the other, it's getting a doctorate in life. You know what I mean? Immersing yourself in just, the study of people. Why we tick, what we do. Education is a great thing, but it's not the only thing. Being people smart. That's, because you meet different people every single day, but you got one way to read this textbook. You got one way to take this test. That's not the way life is, and so life's a journey, and that you're going to learn most of what you're going to learn in life just by experiencing it.
Mm.
Yeah, I personally learned, in my opinion, like, I went to the university, right? I was at Christian Brothers University, and I quit, okay? I'm not going to say I dropped out. I believe I quit. And then I decided that because I quit, I want to go back because I don't want my kids to look at me and be like, why are you going to tell me to go to school? Or why are you going to tell me to do this? And you quit it, And so I was like, you know what? And it's a silly reason why I went back to school. It's, in my opinion, a stupid reason, kind of. Like, oh, you can go be in depth and all this just to say I didn't quit, right? But I think I got that from jiu-jitsu, right? I got it from training and working hard, obviously, on the street and stuff. But I personally, cause I went and graduated with a biomedical engineering degree. It's a tough degree. It's whatever, I'm not a school guy. I was joking with some of the guys yesterday. We were putting a haunted house together for Halloween, and we started talking about ACT scores. And people are like, damn, you're stupid. But can you guess what my first ACT score was?
Not a clue.
Just throw a number.
It's from 1 to 36.
17.
I thought you were going to give me more than that.
I mean, you're the one that put it out there like you didn't do good.
Oh, maybe I hit a 36. I don't know. Well, I got a 16.
I was close.
That's what I'm saying. So you call me dumb. Whatever. I was expecting at least 25 or something, But I got a 16, which is like horrible, And I was going to Houston, and so I forgot how it went, but like I think the teacher's like, yeah, you need to redo this, and they don't usually. That's your choice, But I think they did that because they average the school scores for schools in the area, and they don't. I'm obviously affecting that score.
You're making us look bad.
Exactly, And I took it again, and I think I got like a 23 or something like that. But I didn't study. I just went and took the test, But I got a 16, so I don't consider myself book smart, right? And a lot of people these days, they go to college for underwater basket weaving, Go spend your money like that, whatever. But so I went through engineering and all this. I'm not the smartest, like I said, in school, but I did this hard in engineering and I learned it, but I didn't learn much.
I've made this argument for years, and a lot of people, agree with this mindset. Education doesn't have to be a classroom. It doesn't have to be a college. And the fact that, I have these discussions with my kids now. A lot of them are like, I don't know if I want to go to college. And that's a fight I pick with my wife all the time. I firmly believe it's not necessary because life is your school, and because you're not necessarily book smart, obviously has not affected anything as far as you being successful. Mm-hmm. It hasn't affected anything as far as you achieving goals. Mm-hmm. It just means you didn't like school,
right?
So I mean, that's what's wrong with that. Can education be a benefit? Of course it can. I mean, is it important in some job descriptions, some fields? Of course it is. But if you don't have it, it doesn't make you a failure. And I find that ridiculous that we put so much weight on it. Mm-hmm. The schools have gotten out of control, and that's my soapbox as far as that's concerned. So, yeah, you can be great at anything, and that's not necessarily the path to get there.
And I agree with that all the way, and that's exactly where I was going with this is yes, I got an engineering degree, but everything I learned was from, working hard, working for myself, and training. Like the life skills that I learned are what gave me success, in my opinion. Networking, strong mindset, fortitude, strong willpower, all this stuff, how to treat people, how to talk to people. You know what I'm saying? All this stuff is what made me successful. School, man, it probably helped a little bit, making me a little mentally smarter, mentally stronger. But I don't remember none of the physics 1, 2, and 3, chemistry, biochemistry, engineering this, engineering that. Like, I don't remember none of it. Somebody showed me a math problem the other day, and I'm like, what is this? It's calculus 1 or pre-cal. And I was like, what the heck? So, like, jiu-jitsu has taught me a lot. Martial arts has taught me a lot. Working in a business has taught me a lot. Because one of the biggest things that people don't understand is you learn the most from failure. It's a cliche thing to say. But you learn the most from trial and error,
So my degree was in business administration, and I don't remember who it was, but one of the classes they had like a case study or something like that where this guy made a corporate screw up where it cost whatever company he was working for, an exorbitant amount of money. Let's just pick a number, say $100,000, and it was a huge failure. And he walks into the boss's office and is like, prepared to give his resignation. And the boss looks at him and goes, no, I just spent $100,000 getting you to never do that again. And it made a lot of sense because it was kind of like, hey, you can either look at that like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Or, hey, now I know it's not going to happen twice and I know how to prevent it the next time. Mm-hmm. That's valuable. Assuming you have that kind of money.
Right. And like you said, I think, and school is not bad. I'm not going to sit here and say that because a lot of young guys are going to be listening to this. School is good if you're going with a purpose and you're going for the right things. I'm not going to school. This is my opinion. A lot of people are going to be upset for kinesiology. Everybody goes to school for that. Every single person goes to school for that. And like, in my opinion, you don't even need a kinesiology degree to do what you're going to do with that.
I thought that was a superpower.
You know what I'm saying? You can go get a certificate and be able to do a lot of stuff like that. Some people are going to jump on here. No, you can't. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. How many of you that go to school to kinesiology actually work with that degree? Not many. Now, if you're going into, what do they call them? Trade schools. Trade schools? 100%. Let's support that. Yeah. In my opinion. Yeah. Let's do something that's going to give you a living and something that we need. Instead of going to school for, like I said, underwater basket weaving. And you see the craziest degrees and parents are do this. And then they go to school. They party through school. Okay. Some people, not everybody. They party through school. They waste 4 years, in my opinion, just wasting it. And then they come out on the other end and they don't have a job. And they owe all this money. And now they believe they wasted 4, 5, 6 years. Now they're depression. They're getting depressed because of it. They're getting in their feelings. They're getting in their mind about it. Now they're feeling worthless. And we're having this on repeat. Why are we doing this to young people? It's because you can manipulate them at a younger age. No, teach them to go to trade schools, and tell your kids don't go to school or you're going to be dumb, right? That's what a lot of traditional families like my Arabs and Asians and a lot of people like, you have to go to school. Like my dad put it in us, you have to go to school, which is not wrong. It's good, right? But you have to go to school, get something that's worth it. Don't go to school because you're going to be dumb, right? Because if I go to get a 4-year degree just to have a piece of paper, then why did I go to school for? You know what I'm saying? I worked on the street with nothing, and I didn't get a degree for that. And I know more business. I don't like saying this about myself. I know more business than some people that graduated with a PhD in business, because trial and error, right? Going hands-on and actually getting the experience instead of saying, hey, I'm going to get an undergrad. Okay. Now let's waste 2 more years of fun. Let me go get a master's. Okay, I want to be a doctor. Yeah. In respect to all the people that have all this stuff, but know what you're doing and don't just force people or try to push them to go to school just to go to school.
One of the most successful people I've ever known is my father, and he didn't have a degree, and he's exceptional at what he does, and he taught me a lot about that, and I kind of use him as an example when I think about, hey, you can do great things, without having that. Right. And it's facts. I've seen it, firsthand.
Yeah, I remember when I was in high school, I graduated in 2019, and everybody, all the students, all the teachers, all the counselors, they were asking you, what college are you going to go to? Not, are you going to go to college? Are you thinking about doing trades? Just which one are you going? Is it Ole Miss? Is it Mississippi State? Is it U of M? And the trades are so underrated. You know, we forget everybody trying to underwater basket weaving, the liberal arts, everything that can't make no money out of it. Somebody has to build the future.
Well, and I think one of the worst things that we've ever done is expected young people to get out of high school and go, now tell us exactly what you want to do for the rest of your life. It's ridiculous. I mean, because people change. People find new careers at 60, 70. There is no, you fit in this box, and that's the only thing you can do. People evolve. People have different priorities. Great example, military, law enforcement. I was talking about them yesterday in the sense that you ever notice those guys will finish their careers and they're clean cut and they're prim and proper in everything they do, and they promptly grow like beards, because they just want to do something completely different. That's the way I think we should be about everything. It's like, hey, just because you went down this path and you're this kind of guy doesn't mean you can't also be this kind of guy.
Right.
There's no reason.
I think one thing we also forget about is, like you said, how we expect these young folks to know what to do is times have changed big time. And I talk about this a lot, but I come from a village, right? I was born here, but my parents come from a village. So it's traditional, like here, old USA, it's farmers and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. The kid back in the day that was 10 years old, if you were to change the ages, is like a 25-year-old today. Mm-hmm. People are like, Mo, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm telling you, a 10-year-old back then is a 20, 25-year-old today. Mm-hmm. The minds are two different things. Because that kid grew up going through the hard stuff. He grew up a traditional way. His dad was there teaching him things. He had to work the farm. He had a job at a very young age, and he had access to it. He wasn't busy on an iPad, or he wasn't busy partying in high school or stuff like that. Just in my opinion, my thoughts on this is just wasting his life partying, right? Kid grew up younger. The kids grew up faster back then, and you see this in a lot of third world countries. I was on the phone with my mom the other day. They're in Palestine, and she's like, yeah, your little brother went to the grocery store. I'm like, he drove? Now, I let him drive here on my farm, right? But he's like, hey, you drove? I'm like, the truck? I didn't.
What is he, like 14?
It's 13.
Okay.
I'm saying, but that's a normal thing over there.
Right.
There's 10-year-olds that drive semi-trucks over there. You have to get a CDL over here. You have to be approved, and you have to go through these courses to do that. Now, am I saying it's responsible, guys? No, I'm not necessarily saying that, right? But those kids are grown. That kid that's driving the truck, like I knew a kid, he was 10, and he had a water truck. So he would go to houses and fill up their water tanks. He would do that by himself. That's his job every single day of the week. That's a 10-year-old, 12-year-old kid doing that, making a full living like a grown man.
Come a long way from paper routes.
Yes. So these days, since we have easy times, the kid takes longer to mature. And in this country, they almost don't want kids to mature fast. They want them to have fun and have the easy life, and they don't want to teach them the real things because everything you have to be politically correct. Well, guess what? Sometimes to teach somebody, you don't need to be politically correct, in my opinion. You need to say it like it is and say it to his face, and if he's going to cry about it, let him cry about it. Eventually, he'll stop crying about it. But now, people are trying to censor everything and cover things up so you don't hurt nobody's feelings.
See, that's where it's going to be interesting when you're finally a parent because, again, these struggles are real. As my kids get older, I try to toughen them up every chance I get because I'm like, hey, the world's rough. Mm-hmm. You're going to deal with some rough stuff. And my wife, she's beautiful. I love her. But she's kind of the other direction. She's kind of like, oh, the baby. I get that. And that's a beautiful time in their growth, and you want to enjoy that. You're definitely going to see that struggle is a little bit more involved than you think it is when you get to that point.
Yeah, and a lot of people have told me that, and I already try, and like I said, I think about the future, and I try to work for the future. Mm-hmm. I've already tried to come out with plans to how I'm going to deal with it, which is crazy.
Good luck with that one.
But my biggest thing, my belief is, like we were at a cafe the other day, and this 11-year-old running the counter. My friend looked at him, he said, he's working? Like, who's taking you? I'm like, that kid is. And so I already have more respect for that kid. And he was walking a certain way. He was talking a certain way, not like other 11-year-olds. His family's a traditional family. And so, like, he's growing up a different way than a normal kid. that's in a school that's sheltered and all this. And people are going to be upset about that. But this is just truth. So if I believe if I take my kids and we can grow up on the farm and I homeschool them, this is my opinion. I homeschool them and let them grow on a farm, and then they go to work with me. So my kids are going to have to work. I do that with my 13-year-old brother. Mm-hmm. My mom doesn't like it, right? But when he's around me, there's something I'm teaching him about work. I'm making him do hands-on labor, right? And I'm telling him you can do this, you can't do that. I know he's a kid, but if I don't do that to him now, then he's going to have a hard time later on. Mm-hmm. He's going to be one of those soft, weak men or weak boys, because he will never be a man if he can't toughen up, right? Or he can't learn the skill. So I think that's the problem. Like you said, like, how do these kids know what to do when they're leaving high school? They haven't done anything to learn anything or have experience or know what they really want to do. So don't force them to go to school. You know, if anything, I would push them. If you're going to push your kids to go to school, in my opinion, is push them to go to a trade school because they're going to get something out of it.
Don't disagree at all.
You know, push them to go to trade school because they're going to make money. They're going to learn a skill, and they're at least going to get something out of it instead of just going to school 4 years, no money, be in debt, and all this.
Have a plan.
You know?
I mean, you'd have a plan for just about anything else in life. Why would you not do it for this?
Exactly.
100%. I started working in construction after I got out of high school. It wasn't like, I didn't think about it like, yeah, this is going to be good for me. But looking back at it, it was like, it taught me how to work with my hands. It made me feel very competent. Like, I know how to do things around the house. I know how to build fences, fix the house up, right? I'm not going to mess with electricity. I don't want to burn the house down. But it helped me just be like a smart adult, like be aware of my body. I see a lot of guys like my age, they don't even know how to unscrew a doorknob, you know, and they need to call somebody to do it for them or change a light bulb. And I think learning how to work with their hands is very important. But I remember one time Coach Porter, you said, the sooner you teach your kids that the world is rough, that the world is not a nice place, the better they'll be. And how important is that? And what are the consequences if you don't teach them that as they grow older and they think it's a lovey-dovey world?
Well, I mean, here's the deal. Who doesn't want to see the best in people? You know, who doesn't want to think the best of people? You know, we're all kind of in that mindset that, generally people are good-natured, friendly, whatever else. A lot of them are not. Again, I think the law enforcement side of me is, you know, and again, I was 41 when I started in that, so I wasn't like a spring chicken. That really opened my eyes to a lot of things I already knew, but I never saw it firsthand. You know, and I'm just like, wow, there is true evil. There are truly people that don't hold what we would consider to be normal values, and it's scary the way some people, you know, think certain behaviors are okay. You want, you know, I'll part ways a little bit with Mo on this. I mean, you do want kids to be kids to some degree. You want them to have that time in their lives because they're never going to get it back. And I'm not suggesting you thought that, but you see where I'm going. But as my kids are all becoming teenagers now, I instantly start poking them more and more with the whole, hey, you know, don't be playing on your phone when you're walking in the parking lot. Don't be out late at night and all that. Oh, yeah, Dad, whatever. Because you see the stuff that when you unfortunately get to see it in a law enforcement career, you go, no, that's when all the terrible stuff happens. Yes, statistically, you know, it's probably not you, you know, but it's got to be somebody.
Right.
So you're like, hey, you might as well prepare for the worst and just hope for the best. You know, it's like wearing a seatbelt. You hope you never need it, but you put it on.
Right.
You know, so.
And I'm going to put kind of both of what y'all said together. And I am the believer, like, I'm not the guy that's, hey, it's all work for kids, right? Because sometimes, like I said, I don't regret it. Sometimes I wish I had more fun growing up when I started working a lot.
You have fun now.
That's what I'm getting to, you know, like at 18, 19, that's people, everybody knew was partying and all this, and I didn't partake in it. And I don't partake in it now. I don't think it's fun, but I don't regret it, right? But because of that, I do want to try to find the balance of, you want to have fun? Okay, we'll have fun. Okay, but you need to still work and earn things. I'm not going to give you a toy. I'm not going to buy you whatever it is that you want. If you want it, okay, I'm going to let you have fun with it when you get it. But in order to do that, you have to do this. You have to work for it. You know, like Gio said, like, some guys can't put a light bulb in or whatever. And I've seen guys that do that, like can't put a light bulb, or they need to change a door, they need to change stuff. Like electricity, like Gio said, I don't mess with it. I had some work done at one of my locations, and I called my good friend Donovan, he owns DC Electrical, to come do it. You know, I didn't mess with it at all because electricity, I just don't want to partake in it. And a few months ago, earlier this year, my animals kept getting out. My cows and my animals kept breaking through the fences. And I went on this chasing my 3 cows for hours one morning. I showered and everything. I was clean. And then I figured out my cows were gone.
Was that the time that that friend of mine reached out to me?
No, it was before that. Okay. So when your friend reached out to you the second time, that's when I thought, okay, I'm building a fence. Right. And the cows got out, and I was pissed. I ruined my shoes. I was in a 3-foot deep ditch of water, and I was upset. It was hot. They thought I was playing with them. They're running. I had to chase them to another person's land. It was a big mess. Did I have it? Looking back at it, I enjoyed the journey, right? I keep telling people enjoy the journey. It was a fun experience, whatever. Was it stressful? Yeah, because it was 3 big cows running, and I couldn't let them get to the street. And so I'm chasing them, and I'm trying to get them back, blah, blah, blah. Next thing you know, a few days later, 30 of my sheep are out. And I'm like, okay, what the heck is going on? And it's my brother's goat, okay? So to make it shorter is I needed to get a fence built. And the fence that I was going to build was going to be hard to build it because the way I was going to build it was like, no matter what happens, they can't get out. And knocking on wood, they haven't got out, and it's been, almost 9 months, 8 months?
Yep.
It's been almost 8 months since we've built it. And so that time I was very stressed. I didn't enjoy my animals anymore because they were stressing me out. I would leave work, I'm getting a call, I'm looking at my cameras, my deer cameras, I see a cow or I see a goat or whatever. And so everybody around me started saying, because it was like 1,500 feet.
Yep.
We had to put like 1,500 feet of fence down. And it was going to take a long time, especially I've never built a fence. And I don't have an auger. I don't have nothing for it. And everybody was like, Jay, dude, just get somebody. And the people that were telling me this found somebody that can do it for a good price. And I told them, I said, on my dead body, am I going to let somebody come on my farm and build a fence for me, for my animals, that I can do with my bare hands? Is it going to suck? Yes, it's going to suck. Is it going to be extremely hard? Is it going to test me? Absolutely. But I'm not going to let my kids get raised on this farm. And when they look at this fence, and I tell them another man built it. For me, it wasn't going to work. And my brother, Momo, he's young, he worked with me. I told him, you're going to build this. His goat was the one that did it. I said, since your goat's the one that did it, and you want to keep the goat, because I threatened to get rid of it, because he wasn't going to let me eat it, and he's going to be laughing and listening to this. He got my mom and dad to stop me. I was messing with him. I'm going to eat your goat, you know? Yeah. And he didn't think it was funny, because I got it for him when the goat was little. And I said, okay, since your goat is the one that did this, then if you want to keep him, then this is what you're going to have to do. And we were fasting. It was the month of Ramadan, and Gio was fasting with me, actually. And we were out there in the middle of summer learning on the job. He had some experience with it, learning on the job, laying this fence down. And now it's done. Now I enjoy the farm way more. They haven't gotten out, you know, and Momo gets to keep Alfred the goat. But in order for me to enjoy that, I had to do it. I wasn't going to go get another man to do my job, right? And that's all I want him to know. It's, okay, you want the goat? Then you're going to learn how to put a fence down. You know, we bought an auger. We bought all this stuff. You're going to learn how to put a fence down, and you get to keep what you want. So that's all I want my kids to learn. And I think if I can do that and try to keep a balance of fun and hard work, I believe, time is going to tell, right? Right. Time is going to tell. But I believe if we can do that to our kids more and make them, I don't want to say suffer, but make them go through hard times a little bit. Then they'll come out better on the other end. And I think the hard part is I'm not a parent yet. And I think part of being a parent is what I get from everybody is like, Mo, you don't know how easy it is. And then you don't want your kids to do that. You don't want to see your kids struggle because the parent inside you is going to hurt, right? And so just trying to find the fine line of making these kids stronger so when they're older, they're stronger men and women. We're more respectful, better people.
It's not suffering, it's seasoning.
Seasoning. Building character.
There you
go. Anything else you want to add?
No, this has been very fun. think we just kind of recapped everything that we've done for the recent past and glanced into the distant future.
Oh yeah, and I'm gonna bring you on again. I'm gonna have to keep bringing you on, talking about our crazy stories and stuff. But I wanted to bring you on so people have an idea of how we started and where we're at and all that. And again, guys, this is the man that taught me a lot. My jiu-jitsu coach, my MMA coach, my Muay Thai coach, my life coach, my business partner, my friend, okay? And it was great having you on this. I learned a lot, and I hope everybody enjoys it, okay? I appreciate you a lot, more than you think, forever. And I love you a lot, and I'm going to keep saying that.
I love you too.
And guys, please keep helping us out. Like, share, subscribe, share with your friends. I'm sure they'll get something out of this that they will learn. We'll try to get them into jiu-jitsu. Doesn't matter where you are, train jiu-jitsu. Like you heard in this episode, you will learn so much. You'll meet so many good people. And we're going to wrap this up because we have a party to get to. And I was trying to sit here the whole time and not stress.
You did a good job.
I was pretty chill today. I wanted to enjoy this moment with you on the podcast because this is a big deal, is having this podcast that I've been talking about forever. So thank you guys for watching to the end. This is episode 4 with Jonathan the Machine Border. Please like, share, subscribe, help us out, and we'll see you on the next episode. You have a good one.
Peace.